lovelies, and welcome to This Week in Comics. Today we're going to be talking about the Green Lantern show updates directly from James Gunn. We're going to be talking about some cool Image comics that are only $1 this week, where you can check out some of my favorite titles, and we're going to be talking all about Black Panther vs. Predator. Lots of really cool stuff in the world of physical comics, but as ever, please do subscribe, please like, please comment, please allow this algorithm to grow. Every single week you guys have killed it in the comments. It's been positive. It's felt like a comic store. I've really enjoyed it, so keep that feedback coming so the algorithm knows that's what you want from this page. There's not a lot of comic book centric content, so it doesn't know where to put it. So if you guys are here, that helps this grow, and I really want to keep doing these for you guys. So this week we're going to be talking about my favorite comics from last week. I read about 50 comics a week, so you don't have to. I give you my top 9 comics of the week and describe them so you can see if you're a cup of tea. And at the end of the episode, I'll be talking about the previews of the comics available at your local comic shop today. So that's what we're doing here now, This Week in Comics. Let's go.
Let's do the list. Spider-Man.
Guilty.
The Incredible Hulk.
Afraid so.
Oh man, this is so cool. The X-Men.
Now that you mention it.
All right, so before we get to the news, let's talk about my favorite comics from the week of May 22nd. My first of those is going to be The Batman, with the hyphen, The First Night, number 3. This somehow stuck the landing. I love a good Elseworld. I love a good Batman story. I really love a good Batman Elseworld, and this was all those things. This is from Dan Jurgens and Mike Perkins, and it basically takes place in the 30s and 40s when Batman was invented, but with today's comic technology, today's art, today's storytelling. But imagine like a classic Hollywood spectacle mixed with detective work from that time, mixed with that like pulpy noir. This is everything I love about Batman. Check this one out. It's only 3 issues, and this finishes the run. You can check them all out right now. Next, we've got Blood Hunt number 2 from Jed MacKay and Pepe Larraz. I adore Jed MacKay's writing. I think he's funny. I think he's quippy. I think he also knows how to tell really good long-form stories. But I have struggled in the past with summer events at Marvel and how impactful they actually are, or if they're just to sell to have a big summer event. This feels like a worthwhile summer event. It is a vampire-driven story that's affecting all of Marvel. Now, it's doing a pretty good job making it pretty self-contained. You could only read Blood Hunt 1 and 2. So far, I've been reading all the tie-ins. They've been good, but not great. I would say the Doctor Strange tie-in is my favorite, but the second issue really ups the stakes. It's really good action. It involves an Avengers-scale attack. It involves a lot of your favorite characters. So if you want to just read a big summer event, this one is a pretty solid place to start. Then we've got Fall of the House of X number 5 from Duggan and Caselli, and this book is insane. Speaking of big summer event action, this concludes the giant Krakoa saga. This is one of the last issues wrapping up Krakoa, and it feels like it. This deals with them fighting Nimrod, who, if you're watching X-Men the 97 series, came back in a big way through the end of Krakoa. This is not quite the fallout, but getting close. This is, I'd say, the climax of the action and a beginning of the fallout of where we're going to go. I think there's only 4 or 5 issues left, and then we get the big relaunch of X-Men, so I wouldn't start here. But if you've been reading any of Krakoa, this is a hell of a run. Check out Fall of the House of X. Next up, we've got Holy Roller number 6. This is from Remender and Sandberg. Yes, Andy Sandberg, along with Troman on art, and this book is insane. It's got some Spider-Man sensibilities in its underdogness, but it's a lot more modern in that it deals with modern Nazis, but also a guy who's Jewish in a town where the bullies kind of become the alt-right and are bullies in an adult way, and this guy joins the Special Forces, then joins Greenpeace, comes back home, and won't tolerate it, and takes on bowling-based powers. He was a good bowler. It sounds absurd. It is absurd, but it's really surprisingly heartfelt, and it's so funny. I mean, Remender does Deadly Class. Andy Samberg is a comedic genius. Put the two of them together on a bowling-based hero. I am in. It's a 9-issue series. This is issue 6 of 9, so I'd check out 1 or just wait for the trade because it's probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 months. But I recommend reading monthly, so I'd check this one out. All right, then we've got Nightwing number 114. This is bittersweet. This is Tom Taylor and Redondo's final arc on this iconic run. I have loved this book for a while. I think it's been 2 or 3 years they've been in this book. It is some all-time great Nightwing stuff. Like, truly some of the best Nightwing I've ever read. The art is so stunning in its sequential nature, the playfulness, the way they use like different frames. Redondo's art is Bruno Redondo forever. I will check out any book he does. And then Tom Taylor, he's reinvented Nightwing. The story is basically like when Alfred died, he left his billions, no one knew Alfred was secretly a billionaire, to Dick Grayson. And instead of being like Batman and using that money to fight crime, he put it in the city and fought crime, answering the age-old tale of like, well, what if Batman actually just put his money in the city? And it worked. But now, because of political corruption, because of all the things you deal with when you're a public figure, as well as a private vigilante, we're seeing it start to unravel. So this is going to be an interesting moral story. The whole book has been like largely based around ethics and morals and truth, justice, etc. But this issue really impressed me with where the big bad has been planting seeds throughout this whole 2-year run. This is the beginning of the end on the Taylor Redondo run. I'm going to miss it. Then we've got Sensational She-Hulk number 8 from Raul and Jandreau. This book is warm, it's fuzzy, it's delightful, it's got dating energy, it's got a lot of love in it. It's a really fun cosmic dating story, and it's She-Hulk loving this man who once was responsible for taking her powers, who was once a villain, and them finding each other later and finding how to be together. And in this arc, they just had a lover's quarrel because he ran into an ex that he had bestowed himself to, and he realized how much he loved She-Hulk, and it's very cute. I love a good dating story when it's done well, and I love She-Hulk, so this has been a great ride for me. This issue is really warm and fuzzy. Something is Killing the Children, 37 from James Tynion IV and Della Dara. I talk about this book every month. I love this book every month. This current arc is a 5-issue arc that are all anthology issues. So you can pick up just 36 and 37, or just 37. You can pick up just this issue and understand like the tone and world of Something is Killing the Children, which I think makes it a great jumping on point. I would go back and pick up the trades from the beginning, but you could pick out just this issue. Go to the store today and see if it's your cup of tea. Basically, it's a world where monsters can only be seen by children, and they're eviscerating the population, and some of those children grow up trained by these assassins to see them and hunt them down. So our lead has all these crazy adventure stories in different pockets of the country. This is just one of those tales. So it's a really good way to like watch an episode, so to speak, and then decide if it's your thing. I love this book. It's one of my favorite books of the last 5 years. I'd highly recommend checking out these couple issues or just this issue. See if it's your thing, then go back to the beginning because it's amazing. Then we've got Spectacular Spider-Man number 3. Not only is this a fantastic what is happening this issue until you get to the end, it's also a really good Peter Parker and Miles Morales tale, and it is written by Greg Weisman, who is responsible for the Gargoyle show, who is responsible for the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon that is so beloved, and now is writing a comic of Spider-Man. So if you love that Spectacular Spider-Man show, this is probably going to be your cup of tea. This has some great Gwen Stacy stuff. This has some really amazing, cute dating stuff with the younger Spider-Man between Miles dating Kamala Khan, and it all is explained by the end in a really interesting way. I love the dynamics between these two. I love the art by Humberto Ramos. He's one of those iconic Spider-Man artists. If you love Spider-Man and you're not loving Amazing Spider-Man, the main title, as much as me, it's not been my thing for a couple of years, this might be the answer, along with the Ultimate Spider-Man comic we're going to talk about in the previews at the end of this episode. And the last of my top 9 for this week is going to be Wonder Woman number 9. This is Tom King, and it is so Tom King. This is espionage. This is psychological warfare. This is really cool heroics. This is a strong, capable, intelligent character. This is so well written. It is so powerful. This is up there, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, as one of my favorite runs of Wonder Woman ever, alongside the George Perez run. I think this is the most captivated I've been by Wonder Woman in years, and I think that this story, every month this is at the top of my pull list when this is the week of Wonder Woman, and I'm never disappointed. It is so just tense and taut, and I love this book, and I love how we're getting so many layers of Wonder Woman each and every issue. Highly recommend this run of Wonder Woman. That is going to do it for my favorite books from the week of the 22nd. At the end, I'll talk about my books that are coming out today, New Comic Book Day, Wednesday the 29th. But first, let's get into the news of what's happening in comics this week. In comic adaptation news, let's talk about Green Lantern. When they announced a year and a month ago, that we're getting all of that insane DCU slate, one of my most anticipated personally was the Green Lantern show they announced, because they described it as like True Detective, and that is my exact jam, a dark, gritty, noir, cop at odds story. Like, I'm a sucker for a buddy cop, but I also love a reluctant partnership cop story. So this sounds like my jam, and it just got to be even more my jam when they announced that it was going to be run by the writer of Ozark, Chris Mundy, the writer of Lost, Damon Lindelof, who, by the way, also did maybe the greatest superhero show of all time in Watchmen. To me, Watchmen and Daredevil are the two. Netflix's Daredevil and the Watchmen show are the two, especially live action, comic book adaptations of all time. So Lindelof on this has me so excited. Plus, he's an actual ride or die nerd. Like, he and I went comic book shopping. Actually, we went comic book shopping, and I introduced him to Something is Killing the Children with issue 2. Now he's obsessed. So Damon Lindelof, real comic book guy on a comic book property, and maybe the most comic book guy of all. I was just talking about him with Wonder Woman, Tom King. Tom King is, I think, the secret sauce of what James Gunn is doing at the DCU. I know a lot of people don't like him. I don't really care. I think he's one of the best writers working, and he is working on this Green Lantern story as well as the Supergirl story that he wrote. The Woman of Tomorrow comic they're adapting is Tom's, and he's working on the movie as well as having made the comic, and he's like in every one of these rooms, like bringing the comic book sauce. So you tell me Ozark meets Watchmen meets one of my favorite comic book writers. Green Lantern is now right there with Superman and Supergirl. Like these three are tied for most anticipated. Also love that James Gunn is confirming stuff. He's denying as much as he can, but when stuff really comes out, and he keeps sharing comic book art, this is how he shared this data. I am thrilled in advance with the DCU. Everything we've seen so far, everything we've gotten so far, just gets me more excited. Yes, more of this. All right, now this is cool because Free Comic Book Day just happened. It's always the first week of May, but it's the craziest day in comic stores. It's Black Friday, and I think it brings hundreds of thousands of people into comic stores that might not otherwise go, but it's really limited what you can get. You can only get like a couple issues of each publisher that are trying to show their stuff, but I also think that gets overwhelming. Image is doing a really cool thing where they're doing this line called Image Firsts, and they're selling #1 issues of some of their biggest titles for $1. $1, and you can buy these comics that are in their first printing, hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, or even brand new, were like $5 or $4 to get, and now they're $1, and it's a great way to discover titles, and in this case, these are some of my favorite Image titles out right now, so this is a perfect way to get into them. So we've got Adventureman #1. Adventureman is a Dodson duo. I love the Dodsons, the artist duo of the Dodsons. They pencil and ink together, and I think their work is absolutely fantastic. This book is a blast. It's very much like old school pulpy noir. Like if you like the 20s and 30s, The Shadow, or maybe more accurately, The Rocketeer. This is very Rocketeer vibe, really pretty art, really fun story. Check out Adventureman for $1. You can also check out World Tree for $1. This is one of my favorite new titles since Saga. It's not like every week is the best thing, but it's every month I consistently am like thinking about this world. So it's top 5 for sure. It is about this undernet, this other side of the internet that is all corrupting and takes people over. It's this hyper-aggressive, neo-noir, hyper-sexual Matrix energy. It's very dark, depraved, and I really dig it. It's not going to be for everybody. It's an actual like adult comic book, but the writing is spectacular. The philosophy and ethics of it are interesting. The questions it raises are great. Really dig World Tree. You can also check out Geiger, which I talk about a lot. I think this book is going to be a big push in creator-owned stuff. This is from Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. This duo is fantastic. This is actually an older issue of Geiger. It's currently on a new #3. The new #1 was only a couple months ago, but this is kind of like a foundational issue. For $1, you can catch up and see if this character is for you. Again, highly recommend it. It's a guy who basically is, after the world ends, left as a state of mutation. He's this glowing skull of vengeance because his family died after the world went to crap, and it's all these different, it's kind of like Old Man Logan meets Punisher, and it's a really fun journey, and it's its own original IP, and I really respect that in this day and age of comics. And finally, Stray Dogs. Stray Dogs for $1. Stray Dogs is if Silence of the Lambs was dogs. Imagine like a psychological horror, torture, terror, but then it's even worse because it's dogs. Because who doesn't love dogs? And this team knew that. They manipulated you to love them even more. You can see like a human get kidnapped and mutilated and be like, it's the news. You're not with dogs. This book is rough. It is intense. Somehow funny while being just sad. Image is on a dark tear, as you can tell from all these different books I just listed, but I recommend all of them. You can get them all for $4. They're $4 titles. Check out these Image first. I think it's a great way to get people in comic stores and a great way to kind of vote with your wallet without it being too big of a vote. You can say like, I want more of this type of thing. Check out Image first. And for our last bit of news, we are getting Black Panther vs. Predator, and it's from the writer of Wolverine vs. Predator. I talked all about Wolverine vs. Predator. It consistently was an absolute blast. They managed to make Predator fit in the world of Weapon X in a way that felt completely synergistic. I love when that rare time you can have a crossover and it's like, oh, duh, that makes total sense. They fleshed Predator out into the history of Wolverine. Them two fighting each other was as badass as you'd ever hoped. And since Disney bought Fox, they can do that in canon, and now they're doing it further by making Predator another Marvel Titans problem with Black Panther. This is from the same writer, Benjamin Percy, who did the Wolverine run, who's also been on the main Wolverine run, who also is killing it on Ghost Rider. Benjamin Percy is like the guy to go to for gruff, rough, bub-esque characters, and he clearly loves Predator. In this story, fighting Black Panther, this just makes so much sense, and I got a couple quotes from Benjamin Percy himself, who said, "There are a number of reasons that Black Panther makes for a great adversary, and Wakanda makes for a great stage, including the fact that the perimeter shield, when locked down, creates a hunting preserve." Already thinking like both Black Panther and Predator. Genius. But then you throw Vibranium into the mix, and you've got a really interesting and fresh Predator narrative. The Uchik covet their weapons and trophies, and the kingdom's vast stories of this rare cosmic metal would be impossible to resist. You got motive, you got setting, you got reason to put them together, and you got the badass adversaries of T'Challa fighting a Predator. And then to wrap it up, he said, "If you're a comics nerd, it will feed you. If you're a movie nerd, I will feed you too. And if you've never read or seen anything about Predator or Black Panther, you can get fed as well. I want these to be evergreen titles, and the best way to accomplish that is to honor the legacy while not being overly burdened by having the reader having to go back to continuity afterwards." Genius. You want an approachable book? Check out this book. If you love the movies and you've never read a comic, this is your book. If you love the Predator movies and you had no interest in comics, this might also be your book. This is the perfect jumping on point to a medium that I love dearly. If you're 15 minutes into this video, you probably already love it dearly, but what a great way to get people into comic stores. What a great approachable title, and what a cool rivalry. Black Panther versus Predator. Yes, indeed. Also, I want to thank you guys. This slipped under my radar last week. The press release actually came out this week with these Benjamin Percy quotes, but one of our viewers actually left it in a comment saying, "Did you hear about this?" And I hadn't yet, so again, you guys have been crushing it in the comments. Sometimes you find stuff I don't, and I scour the internet for this stuff, so I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments which of these news stories excites you most. Are you excited for the insanity of Green Lantern with Ozark mixing with Watchmen, mixing with Tom King? Are you excited for these dollar image issues where you can try some new image comics out? Are you excited for Black Panther versus Predator? Let me know, and let me know if there's anything else I missed in the news this week. And let me know what you're going to be checking out as we get into the previews of what's to come out at the comic store today, May 29th. Go to your comic store. These are the things I'm going to be checking out. It might be a 5 Wednesday month, but this last Wednesday in May is absolutely stacked. Today's new comic book day is a big one, so I'm going to go through pretty quick. Starting with Marvel Comics, we've got Avengers Twilight number 6, concluding this miniseries from Chip Zdarsky that I personally really loved. I know it's not for everyone, but it's for me. The Acuna art is amazing, and I personally think the story is fantastic. The end of things, a dystopian Avengers story that I've really loved. Black Panther Blood Hunt number 1, tying into the big Blood Hunt summer event over there. Black Panther's a key part. T'Challa's got a big role to play. Edge of Spider-Verse looks like it centers on Jessica Drew, the Across the Spider-Verse version. We've never seen this Jessica Drew in comics to my knowledge. We've seen pregnant Jessica Drew, but not this one, so I'm excited to see her as a mom and where those hijinks go. Wolverine number 1. If you want to see Ghost Rider and Wolverine combined, you want to see the Spirit of Vengeance in Logan, this looks to be your book, and it looks to be insane. We've also got Jackpot and Black Cat number 3. This is continuing. I don't personally love Mary Jane having powers because I don't think she needs them, but if you like it, this is your book. Midnight Suns Blood Hunt number 1, tying in the entirety of the Midnight Suns to this summer event, and obviously with Blade being such an important part, this will be probably pretty impactful to the overall story. We've got Night Thrasher number 4. Admittedly, I dug the first issue, but it's fallen off for me a bit, but I'm hoping it concludes well. Rise of the Powers of X number 5 comes out this week. We're into the last 3 or 4 issues of Krakoa, so this one's guaranteed to be pretty action-packed and probably start to deal with the resolution of how we reboot the X-Men. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver number 4. I'm hoping they retcon things and make Magneto more parental. I think that's what this is going to land on. That's just my theory, but I think this is going to be an important issue. Spider-Boy number 7. Dan Slott writing his own creation, and the superior Spider-Boy has been interesting. I'm not as in love with this as I started out, but I'm going to keep checking it out and hoping it turns for me. Spider-Punk Arms Race. Cody Ziegler on Spider-Punk has been a fun time. If you like the character from the movie, this is more like that Spider-Punk. The Spider-Boy, Spider-Punk, they're not quite as singing for me as Ultimate Spider-Man, but they're a fun time. We've got Star Wars Darth Maul Black, White, and Red, continuing the imprint idea of doing these black and white comics with splashes of red. Darth Maul seems like the perfect character for it. We've also got Jango Fett number 3, and then, big one for me of the week, Ultimate Spider-Man number 5. You guys know how much I love this title. This looks to be another build-up to where the goblins are going. I think we'll meet Norman in this issue. We've met Harry. Loved the conversation of last issue. I love these characters so much. I think Jonathan Hickman, I personally am enjoying Hickman on Spider-Man even more than on Krakoa, and I know that's a big thing to say, but this Ultimate Spider-Man is probably my favorite Spider-Man full run for 20 years. Like, I love the Chip Zdarsky stuff, but they were so short. This is a full run, and it's just perfect. If you're going to check out one book, check out Ultimate Spider-Man. We've also got Wolverine 50, which is a giant conclusion to the Sabretooth War. Looks to be big, looks to be bloody. This is probably the last issue before they reboot with Wolverine #1, tying in with Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in July. So this is probably a pretty big, impactful moment. And then finally, we've got X-Men, The Wedding Special #1, with the wedding of Mystique being told for the first time. Very curious how that goes over there. And then over at Image Comics, we've got a bunch of stuff. We've got Kevin Eastman, who's the creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with his new book, Drawing Blood. We've got Gromit's #1. I know nothing about this, but it's a new #1 from Image, so I'll be checking it out. We've got those Image firsts I told you about before. Adventureman, Geiger, Stray Dogs, and World Tree. We've got a new King Spawn issue. We've also got Knights #7. This book is just crazy. It's a grab bag of very interesting supernatural characters in some weird teen hijinks. I've been digging it. We've also got The Six Fingers #4. This started out very Fincher noir and has now gotten a little more supernatural than I'd like. I really liked when it was gritty and grounded. I'm going to keep reading it because I'm hoping it finds me again, but the last issue threw me a little bit. Undiscovered Country #29 from Scott Snyder, one of the big Batman writers. We've also got Universal Monsters, Creatures from the Black Lagoon Lives #2, the longest comic title ever, but I really dug that first issue. Universal Monsters are fascinating. Bringing characters back from like the 40s movies into comics is really fun, so if you love those classic monster movies, this book's going to be your jam. And finally, World Tree #10. As you know, I love that World Tree title. I talked all about it in the news section of this, and I'm excited for issue 10. Over from DC Comics, we've got Batman the Dark Age #3, Batman the Brave and the Bold #13, which is that continuing anthology title with Batman. We've got DC Pride #2024. There's also a DC Connect in there. I just breezed over it because it's more of a preview of what's to come, but it does talk about Absolute Power and all the Amanda Waller stuff. And then again, DC Pride 2024. Detective Comics with #1085. Looks to be starting a new arc if memory serves. The Flash #9. Been loving how existential, weird, and science and not science. There's so much philosophy in this Flash book with sprinkles of science. Green Arrow #12. Harley Quinn #40. Harley Quinn 38 and 39 really got me back. I'm back to really loving this Harley Quinn title. I'm hoping #40 is just as good. Penguin #10. I love this book. I think it's the most slept on books on the shelves right now. Ultimate Spider-Man selling out like crazy. Wonder Woman selling out like crazy. I feel like no one's talking about Penguin. And this Penguin book is as good as any Batman book I've read, but it's about like, people don't think of Penguin as credible as the Joker or Riddler. He is, and this is him as a henchman reclaiming his power in Gotham. I love this Penguin title. It's so intense. I feel like it's going to be a great just palette preparer for the Penguin show with Colin Farrell. Power Girl #9, just been fun. Had a good time with it so far. And then Primer #3. From Dark Horse Comics, we've got Count Crowley, Mediocre, Midnight Monster Hunter. This is from David Desmalchin and Lucas Kettner. Lucas Kettner's art, always stunning. The writing here is like Tales from the Crypt meets like a local access CTTV channel, and instead of the Crypt Keeper being a puppet, it's a girl playing this role that discovers monsters are real, and it's her life going through like not being an alcoholic and like trying to put her life together, but also hunting monsters. It's so fun and good, and it's very David Desmalchin. We've also got Dawn Runner #3, which if you love the world of mecha techs or Ghost in the Shell, it's very anime inspired. This is like Ghost in the Shell meets Gundam with awesome kaiju and a lot of that existential thought that I really love. I'm loving this Dawn Runner book. Those are my two from Dark Horse. And then over from Boom Studios, we've got Once Upon a Time at the End of the World #15, which is damn near the conclusion of this run, which has been a wild up and down journey we've gone on with those characters. And that is going to do it for our books this week. It is a big old new comic book day from those publishers. What are you going to be checking out? I'm very excited for all of those. I'll be back next week talking about my favorite 9 of those books I just mentioned. Again, let me know in the comments below what you are checking out, what news excited you, and please, please, please hit that subscription bell, hit that like button, hit any button you want except the X. Unless you're done watching this, you already pressed the buttons. Press buttons. Your homework assignment for the week is let me know what comic book has gotten you back into comics in the last 5 years. Has there been a book that you had left comics and you're like, you know what, I love this medium a lot, I'd like to share it because I want people to read the comments and find a book that might be for them that gets them back into the world of comics. So let me know. I'll talk to you guys soon. Appreciate you.